If you struggle to squat to parallel, your heels come up, or you feel like you're gonna fall over, this video is for you. I've worked with hundreds of lifters who couldn't hit parallel, and over the years, I built a progression that'll get you squatting lower fast. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why you can't squat lower and how to fix it step by step. Let's get into it. If you can't hit parallel, it's almost never just tight hips or quote unquote bad mobility. I'll explain further as we go why that's the case. So instead of just hammering random stretches, we're gonna get really particular with staying and spending time in certain positions to extend your range of motion. All right, our first progression will be an assisted squat holding on to something. Now I've got this nice shiny Rogue rack here. Well, not shiny, but you know what I mean. If you don't have a rack, you're doing this at home, you can use a cabinet, tabletop, couch, whatever it is that you have. You're gonna hold on to whatever it is, and what I want you to do is walk yourself down until you hit parallel or maybe even slightly lower, and we're gonna spend an extra 2-3 seconds in this lower range of motion before going back up. Extra couple seconds down here. This is mainly for the purpose of getting your nervous system more used to that additional range of motion that you're not used to getting into. And this is the thing that you're gonna hear me coming back to a lot as we comb through all this, is the nervous system and getting the nervous system used to particular ranges of motion or additional ranges of motion. More times than not, that's the issue with getting a longer range of motion than something like a tight joint or a tight muscle. So again, spend your extra time down here. Once you get really comfortable in this range of motion, let's say that doing 3 sets of 10, maybe 12 gets to be pretty easy, we're gonna move to the next thing. Your next progression, we're gonna use a stick. Now again, if you don't have one of these PVC pipe things at home, there's other stuff that you could use, maybe a mop stick, something like that. But essentially what you're looking for, we're gonna do the same thing, is use the stick for a little bit of additional balance, walk yourself down, spend some extra time down here, and then walk your way back up. I used to have a client, she was a 72-year-old, I believe, and this was the exercise that we used to get her squatting all the way to parallel. You just walk herself down, 2 count, and then walk back up. Reason this will be the next progression from holding on to something solid is obviously this is not as, it won't provide as much support as something like this. So you have to rely on your body weight a little bit more, or your own strength a little bit more, and you can't put as much of your upper body strength into it as you can with something more solid. So a little less support, but still giving you a little additional support in that bottom range of motion, which is where we want to spend our additional time. So the nervous system is very smart, and if it isn't used to a particular range of motion, it will kind of naturally keep you away from it. This is why when you go down into a squat, when you're not used to going any lower than say here, you feel like you're gonna fall backwards. It's because the nervous system is not used to that lower range of motion, and it's attempting to protect you, right? You might have heard the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it. Range of motion is a similar thing. If you don't spend much time down here, then your nervous system will kind of forget about how to get into that particular position and stay there. So what we need to make sure we're doing with these 2 progressions is spending extra time down there. Your nervous system goes, oh, we are safe here. This is normal, we're used to this. And this will help you once you start having a weight on your back or in your hands. Speaking of that, next thing, dumbbell. Now you can, again, let's say you don't have access to a dumbbell, you're doing this from home. You can use a kettlebell, you can use a dumbbell. If you don't have any kind of traditional weights, I'm sure you've got a backpack or a purse or something like that. Fill it up with a bunch of stuff you've got from around the house just to get a little additional resistance. That's what we're looking for here. So we're gonna do the exact same thing we did with the rack and with the stick. You're gonna sink down into the bottom of a squat, spend extra time down there before going up. And let that weight pull you all the way until you hit what is the end of your range of motion. You'll know what the end of your range of motion is because you literally won't be able to go any lower. That's gonna look different for different people, and we're gonna come back to some more details on that here in a moment. But let the weight take you all the way down into your lowest range of motion and spend, again, extra time there. You wanna make sure you don't rest your elbows on your knees because we wanna make the muscles and the joints have to deal with the resistance in that lower range of motion. So again, I know I've said it multiple times now, I'm gonna keep saying it because it's the entire point. We wanna spend extra time in the lower range of motion to get the nervous system used to it so it's comfortable going lower than what it was comfortable going to previously. Why haven't I mentioned any stretches? Well, I kind of alluded to this before, but let's go a little more in depth now. So first, the idea that doing a particular stretch and getting a longer range of motion at a particular joint while performing that stretch, the idea behind that is that that's gonna have carryover, one-to-one carryover to something like a squat or another exercise. Doesn't exactly work this way in practice. Again, the nervous system is very smart and it's very particular. So you can get very good at performing a particular stretch without that necessarily having carryover to the exercise that you're trying to get better at or that you're trying to get a longer range of motion with. So the best way to get a longer range of motion with a particular exercise is through the use of that exercise itself, which is why during our progressions, all we did pretty much to get a longer squat is we did a longer squat, just with a little additional support, because obviously you can't do it at the time of starting this. So we need to use some tactics to help us get that longer range of motion first, some assistance, and then we remove the assistance over time. Other thing I wanted to go into detail about was, as I mentioned earlier, hitting the end of your range of motion and that looking like different things for different people. So keep this in mind with the squat. I've talked about this, I think, in all my squat videos I've done. If you have 10 people do a squat, even if they're all the same height, you're gonna see probably at least 5 or 6 different looking squats. This is because the squat or your squat form is a matter of your tibia length, your lower leg length versus your femur length, upper leg length versus your torso length. Now, these are obviously going to vary from human to human.
Two, there are also structural variances amongst people. The segmental proportions, where someone could, in proportion to their femur, have a really short tibia, or in proportion to their femur, have a really long tibia, which will influence things very differently. So right now, let's take a look. If I put a very short tibia on this person, you're going to notice that their ability to squat down starts to look like he's leaning really far forward. If this person's tibia was longer, they're just collapsing more. They're not necessarily leaning forward more, and that's going to totally change how it feels on their low back. And they might be going, oh, squats are all in your low back. Yeah, especially when you're built this way.
This is also why you see, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I can do sissy squats, tap my calves all the way to my hamstrings and extend back up. I've got all that range of motion in my knees. But when I do a regular squat, my knees don't track forward at all. My hips go straight back, my shins stay mostly vertical. Even though I have the range of motion in my knees, because we have so many other things involved, it ends up not really mattering. So the idea that we're just going to do a bunch of mobility exercises for the ankles, for the knees, for the hips, and that's going to take your squat form from looking more powerlifting-esque to more Olympic lifting-esque, being more upright and tapping your ass all the way on the floor, doesn't really pan out. Different people have different looking squats because there's so many different parts moving, and I would encourage you to accept your body for what it is. I spent years doing mobility and stretching and stuff like that because I wanted to squat more upright where my knees travel further forward because I wanted my quads to grow. And after years of doing that, nothing changed. I maybe squatted a little lower, but that was it. So accept your body for what it is. The end of your range of motion is the end of your range of motion. You should be looking to hit parallel at least, but going further than that, it's not necessary. It won't make or break your squat, won't make or break your gains, and don't force yourself into a position that disagrees with your body, we'll say. Good. That's it for today's video, folks. I hope that was helpful. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Check us out in your app store. That's Muscle Wiki, all one word. I'm Coach Ty with Muscle Wiki, and I will see you with the next one. Deuces.